All right, so we have finished talking about the monophthongs and we're moving on to the diphthongs. And as a reminder, the diphthongs are still single phonemes that involve movement from one area of that vowel space to another. And the specific qualities of the diphthongs are really sort of hard to distinguish, partly because they vary so much across speakers. And even within speakers, they can depend on things such as the speaker's rate of speech, as you can see here, the phonetic context of the vowel, and even the degree of stress in that word. So due to vowel space movement, there's two symbols that are required to represent diphthongs. So the on glide is the beginning position of the vowel. So the first essential starting point of that vowel, of that diphthong, while the off glide is the ending position of the vowel. But just because of the symbols that we use for those diphthongs doesn't necessarily mean that those are the exact approximate vowels that are the beginnings and endings. They are still quite approximate in terms of the beginning and ending sounds that are actually produced. Again, so those diphthongs are going to be varying greatly across dialects. And so while we use those phonetic symbols to represent those different dialects, you need to keep in mind and recognize that those phonetic symbols are really more a matter of convenience and very much a matter, they are a guess. Okay, so again, when our diphthong is symbolized by the I, the script A, small cap I, that doesn't necessarily mean that tongue is always moving exactly from the script A to that small cap I. Those vowels are the approximate targets for those on-glide and off-glide segments, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly the sounds that we're producing. All right. So again, just as a reminder, right, of approximately what we're producing, and again, just as an initial disclaimer, some people use for the diphthongs that use the ah. I'm going to be using the script A symbol to represent the I and the ow. Other people use the Boston A. Okay, I'm just using the script A for convenience more than anything else, since we're using the script A for our other transcriptions. So rather than making you also learn and remember to transcribe that Boston A, we're just to a point just going to disregard the Boston A and not deal with that at all. We're just going to use the script A for all situations where we want to be using that ah symbol. Okay. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the exact tongue position for our I. Our tongue may be more in more of a center, a low center position for an I. That may be what you do, but we're just going to be using that representation, that symbol representation for that sound that we're hearing. Okay. All right, so to start with, in general with our diphthongs, I'm going to be referring to them as the A diphthongs, and we're not going to be worried about their positioning, since the tongue is moving from one place to the other in the mouth. So I'm just going to talk about the A as the A diphthong. Okay, and I think some students get confused. I call it the A diphthong, but there's actually no A, letter A in the diphthong, versus here is the letter A, so to speak, and but there is not actually, that's called the I diphthong. Okay, so just keep this in mind. The A diphthong is the E and the small cap I. Okay, the A diphthong, he's your A sound, right, in all these different words. And as I mentioned briefly somewhere else, the A diphthongs are big, fat vowels, okay? I also grew up in a small town in North Dakota, where very close to Canada, where we love our vowels. We love big, fat vowels. So my diphthongs are especially big and fat. Um, so my vowels are maybe even fatter than some of yours. And so that's another reason why I like to transcribe just with diphthongs. Uh, some of you may have been taught to also use or only transcribe the A sounds in a word like main, transcribe, or to use in conjunction to the A diphthong to also use just the E. The E alone is the monophthong pairing of the A. Okay? If you ever see the E by itself, he essentially does make the same sound as the A. If you want to think about it as sort of the pairing of our stressed and unstressed our schwa and our wedge. Okay, essentially your A is your stressed A, and your E by itself is your unstressed E. Or your E by itself is your unstressed A sound. Okay, I am not going to make you make that differentiation. It's hard enough for students to make the differentiation between stressed and unstressed. That's hard enough for students. That's why we just focus just on using the diphthong A. But that's why when you will come across sometimes test protocols where they transcribe things with just a straight E, it is not a typo. Some people, that's just a form that they use in terms of their transcription. That's just what they do. You need to be comfortable with variation in transcription. Transcription, unfortunately, is somewhat stylistic, all right? There is a lot of different ways to do it. There is not, unfortunately, one and only one way to do things. If you've been told that there's only one way to do things, unfortunately, that is wrong, all right? So we're going to focus on just using the A diphthong, but if you see the E by itself, that is, for better or worse, an appropriate way to represent the A sound, but I want you to use the A diphthong, okay? So that's my comment on that, so I don't want you to be caught unaware. If you see the E by itself, that's the sound that it is making. It's not making an E sound. It is the unstressed A sound. So he theoretically should be in unstressed E words. Let's try that. Unstressed A words. Okay, so let's look in here. So again, we're looking for all words that have A sounds, right? Because he's the A diphthong. So acorn, yes, A, and then we also have the or diphthong, or the or rhotic. Sleigh, yes, the A diphthong. Vein, yes. Dial, aisle. So there we have an I, that's the I diphthong, not the A diphthong. And I want to point out here, dial, 2-syllable word, okay, dial, and dial. And I want you to note, we have 2 vowels here. We need to separate the I and the O, dial. Notice how you say there's a y, a hidden y in the middle, dial. So I want you to have an I, and I want you to have a y, dial, and then a y, and then probably a schwa and an L, or maybe an upsilon and an L, dial, okay? I want you to have something, you have to have something separating 2 vowels. You cannot just have 2 vowels next to each other, because again, there's no constriction in your vowels. So you have to have something that changes your oral cavity from one vowel to another. So the only way to change, basically to differentiate one vowel from another, so you have to have a consonant, to change from one vowel to another. So it has to be usually a glide or a glottal stop to separate from one vowel to another. Okay, so dial, there's a y in there. Leisure, there's no A diphthong. Leisure, easier. Again, on the end, there's your schwa, gain, A, there's your A diphthong. Bag, okay? In my dialect, bag has an A diphthong. In other dialects, bag is said with an ash, okay? So that's one where you have to pay attention to how somebody says it. Okay, I say bag with an A, other people say bag. So just something to pay attention to. Same with like wagon. I say wagon with an A. Other people say wagon. Lay definitely has an A diphthong. Attain, there's your schwa at the beginning, attain at the end. Rain, there's your A, and then deer, ear, ear, ear. Which of your rhotics is it? You know, even though you see the ER, it's your ear diphthong, so it's that small cap IR, ear, ear, ear. Okay, your O diphthong. Okay, so this is your other diphthong that also has an unstressed monophthong. Just like your A diphthong here, your unstressed monophthong is just the singleton O. Okay, so sometimes people will transcribe an O sound with just a singleton O. So again, not a typo if you see that. Some people just transcribe that way. Again, your O diphthong is definitely your stress production of O, while your monophthong would be your unstressed O sound. Again, we're just not going to worry about stressed and unstressed O sounds. We're just going to use the O diphthong. But just something for you to be aware of if you see it in different texts or in your test protocols. That's what the situation is. But we're just going to use that O diphthong, and obviously a fairly easily identifiable sound. Hopefully not one that you're going to get confused with very often. But the big thing that I think that students get confused on, sometimes they just there to get sloppy, make sure it's your O and your upsilon. Students sometimes just use the O and the U. Okay, and you're going to lose points that way. Make sure it's the O and the upsilon. All right, and so here we got O's, old, O, O, O. Again, you're going to be rounding your lips for these. O, moot, again, these are oo, so you got double O's. Double O's are honestly usually more of an oo versus an O. So is your O. Lotion, there's your O. Lotion, un. Lotion is usually going to be un. That's going to be your schwa. Mo, your O diphthong. Who is your oo. Cola, O. And then again, that A, don't think it's your script A. Cola, that's your schwa. Toast, that's your O diphthong. Bowl, and again, single syllable, bowl. But with that last L, there might be a little bit of a raised vowel on the end before that L, to make it sound like there's an extra sound on the end of that with that L. Macho, there's your script A, macho. Script A with the O on the end. Okay, your I diphthong. I. Again, we're going to be transcribing this with our script A, small cap I. Big fat diphthong, a lot of movement from low back to high front. I. Right? Island, right? Island. So I diphthong, island, usually with a small cap I and the lind. I, the I diphthong. Guy, I diphthong. Minus, I diphthong, and probably a small cap I. Dial, I diphthong. Rhyme, I diphthong. Sweet, dotted I. High, I diphthong. Niece, dotted I. Bride, I diphthong. The ow. I like this one. Ow. You get to round your lips on the end because you're going to move up to that upsilon. Ow. And again, we're going to be using that script A. Again, just more for ease of transcription. Make it easier stylistically for us. And a lot of movement on the back, up the back of your oral cavity. Again, a fairly obvious sound that you shouldn't get confused with too many other sounds. All right. Ouch. Yes. Lawn. That's your script A. Coward. Ow. Coward. Coward. You have an so that's and the question is it stressed or unstressed? Coward. Unstressed. So that's your schwar. Coward. Vowel. There's your ow diphthong, and then o. So you have your schwa with that L. How. There's your ow diphthong. Toffee. So there's your script A, ah, with your dotted I. Shout. Ow diphthong. No. That's your o diphthong. Lounge. There's your ow diphthong. And then house. Your ow diphthong. The oi diphthong. For some reason, this is the one I always forget about. It's not a very common sound. Honestly, so we're like boy, right? There's not that many words that have the oi. And again, the thing that students usually forget about is it's an open O. Okay, usually students get lazy or they just forget and they use a full O, right? The nomenclature is to have that open O. Okay, so the reverse C, make sure you have the open O with a small cap I. So that's just, make sure you got the right symbol for it or you will lose points. Okay, oi. All right. And so koi, yes, the oi diphthong. Choice, oi diphthong. Town, it's your ow diphthong. Oi, join, oi diphthong. Cipher, I, that's your I diphthong with the schwa and the N, cipher. Moist, the oi diphthong. Mist, it's your small cap I. Buoyant, your oi diphthong. Buoyant, and probably your small cap I. Juice, that's your oo. And then spoil, your oi diphthong. All right. And then finally, we'll talk briefly about the U diphthong. Go back and forth. Some people don't consider the U to be a diphthong. The ya, in some situations, you can call it the U a diphthong. You can call it. Sometimes the ya just sneaks in certain situations. That sort of turns the u into a different sounding vowel. I think I got some examples here in a few minutes. So, but some people consider it a u diphthong, so we'll just talk about it. But basically, sometimes the u turns into a u. Okay, so for example, coot turns into cute, and who turns into hue, and food turns into feud, and foo turns into few. All right, so by inserting that ya in between. Okay, so it's just something, or moo turns into mew. Okay, so it's just something to keep in mind, and students often miss it when they're transcribing. So just something just to point out and keep in mind, and whether you want to call it the U diphthong or I don't know, so I'm just going to point it out, and depending on who you talk to, they'll consider it a diphthong or not. So we're just going to include it here. All right, so we got some examples here. So few, right? It's not foo, it's few with that ya. Union, yeah, there's a U. It's not union, it's union. Beauty, right? It's not booty, it's beauty. It's sort of fun to say booty, right? Cute, there's a U. It's not coot, it's cute. Pew, it's the pia. It's not poo, it's pew. Use, right? It's not ooze, it's use. Huge, it's not hooge, it's huge. Fool, it's just fool. It's not fuel, it's fool. Humor, it's not humor, it's humor. And here we have hula. It's not hula, it's hula. So we have a few who don't have a ya, but most of them have the ya. All right, so just something to think about. And again, if you're not paying attention, you miss it. All right, so just point it out. All right, we got some diphthongs here to think about. So I'll give you a moment. Hit pause and stop and think about them. Pause. Unpause. All right, and here we have some more. Looks like more diphthongs for you to practice with. Again, you can go to dictionary.com if you want to check things out, if you want to transcribe them.